Welcome back to Heat RC. Check out what we have got on the bench, guys. The Team Corelli Kagama. Before we go any further, take a second to smash the like button, hit subscribe, help the channel out, and on with the video. In this video, I'm going to show you the new Team Corelli Kagama. It's kind of an unboxing. I have run this car before, but I'm going to show you what you get inside the box, car's key features, and 3 things that you should do before you run this car. So if you're thinking about buying a Kagama, you're thinking about buying a sledge, you're thinking about buying a Creighton, this is the video for you. We'll start off with what's on the box. 1/8 scale, brushless powered monster truck, ready to run. You do need batteries. 3 differentials, all metal differentials, CNC, and the top speed 62 miles per hour, 100 kilometers an hour. There is an asterisk there with the correct gearing and optimum conditions and driver skill, but I think you will find that it's easily capable of 62 miles per hour. One of the things about this car is this extreme hybrid chassis bracing system. Big solid block on top as well, foam block. 16mm big bore aluminium shocks with aluminium shock caps, something you don't get with a sledge. CNC machined 5mm aluminium shock towers front and rear. Oversized HD composite suspension arms and aluminium anti-tear rings. Strong and wear resistant S2 hardened spring steel drive joints. The extreme hybrid chassis system, as we've mentioned before. High performance differentials with CNC machined steel gears. Oversized HD composite pillar ball type steering hubs. CNC machined 8mm aluminium suspension arm holders. Should also mention, guys, the power system on this car. It's 185 amp ESC, and then I think it's got a 4074 motor, 2000 kV. That is one of the things that makes this car also extra special. So you do get this CT 2R controller. It feels good in the hand. You can use it one-handed if you want. Trigger feels good. I've got quite big hands. It's perfect for me, it feels nice in the hand, and it does the job. Inside you get options for steering direction, throttle trim, steering trim. You can reverse the steering, you can reverse the servo. Pretty functional, everything you need in there. And it does also boast a 300-meter range, this car, so that is pretty impressive. You get instructions. You also get a Team Corelli keychain and a Team Corelli lanyard. You don't get any tools. I've seen some people complain about that. I think that, well, if you're getting into the hobby and it's your first car, cheap tools would be handy until you start stripping hexes, and then it's much better to go and invest in some good quality tools. So yeah, pros and cons to not having tools, but I think actually you need, for a car like this, you want to have some decent tools. Yeah, that's pretty much what you get inside the box. As I said, I've run my car, I run all my cars in the dunes, that's why it's got Pro lines in the back. But the first thing that I would say about this car is its sheer size. For an 8 scale, it is budging on being a 7 scale. I will show you a Fireteam in comparison in a second. This car is big and chunky and wide wheelbase. I'm actually super impressed by this car. So I did say 3 things that you should do with your car before you run it. Okay, and I'm going to show you those first of all. The very first thing that I would do, that I would recommend, is that you shoe glue your body. I would personally shoe glue the whole thing, and I'm in the process of doing that. Here I'm showing you, first of all, the bits you should do first. So you want to get in around these front 2 post support mounts. Reason being is you'll start to wear away the paint here on both sides. So either add a little bit of padding to the support post or shoe glue the body. Personally, I think shoe gluing the body is a good idea because it'll make it stiffer. Also then, and more importantly, here in the back, these holes in the back are slightly oversized. So what I found, I was getting a little bit of wobble in the back of the body, a little bit of shaking. And now I've shoe glued over these holes, but I haven't removed all of the material from the inside of the holes. I've actually just cut a line through. And what that means is when you place the body on, although it might not be so beautiful, there is no now sideways body wobble that I was getting when I first ran the car. It's nice on there, nice and solid and grippy, so there's no movement in the body, and that's going to save the paint as well. Also, you can do the sides, give a bit more rigidity to the sides. So the second thing, guys, that I highly recommend is to cover over the vent holes on the inside. This is if you're running in anything other than perfectly clean conditions, and personally I'd recommend you do it anyway. Cover over both the vent holes with some duct tape, and then on the outside of the tyre, you can see I've got one here, vent the tyre. Personally, I do it in 3 places. So I vent my tyres in the way that A-Jam Studios vents his tyres. One on the top, one here, and one equal distance on this side. People recommend you don't go right in on that seam line there. I've never had an issue, but I have just gone slightly in on the inside when I'm venting my tyres. That will just help any dirt to escape from the tyre. If dirt gets on the inside, there's no way for it to get out, and I'm running in the dunes. So in the dunes, and it stops, it's deep in the sand. Sand inside, foams are finished. Same thing can be said for dirt, mud, stones, etc, etc. So that is number 2. Number 3 is read the instruction manual, and for one specific reason. There's a great temptation to just whack batteries in your car and drive it straight away, but the key thing to remember here is that these cars have been in transit. Whether it was from the factory to the shop, from the warehouse to your house, wherever it may be, it's been in transit. Whether it's on a plane or on a boat, there are vibrations. Vibrations will loosen off screws and nuts. Okay, so I went over my car and I found that in the front and rear differential screws on the chassis, there was like 1/8 of a turn, and my front shocks needed a 1/4 turn to get them properly tight. Everything else was rock solid. But I went over the whole car and just checked that everything was screwed up tight. You do not want to invest $700-800 in a car and not tighten the screws up before you run it. Okay, so the 4th bonus thing is that I've seen people complaining about these wheel nuts. Now, I've run the car 3 times. I've had absolutely no issues with these wheel nuts because they're not serrated, and they've been fine with me. Serrated wheel nuts, I've found, have actually caused damage to all of the wheels that I've had, but they are grippier in theory. Has it made a difference to me? No, but if you wanted to, I guess you could change out the wheel nuts. Now, the next thing here, guys, is the feature that a lot of people, or at least has passed me by, with this Torox 185 speed controller. Now it says on the instruction manual 3 to 6S. It says here in the instructions manual 3 to 6S. So it says here in the programming menu, my GoPro doesn't really want to go that close, but it does actually say there 8S, option 6. So according to that, it's programmable up to 8S. The motor is not 8S capable, so I wouldn't recommend it, but maybe there's an option there to add an 8S motor and make it 8S. Again, I'm not recommending you do this. Another bonus thing that I might change after running mine a few times is that the voltage cutoff is on auto as standard, intermediate, and I think probably I would change mine to auto low, because I found that it's cutting off my batteries right on a storage charge, which is good for your battery, I guess, but it was kind of like reducing my runtime a little bit. All right, so let's just take a little look underneath the body. Now this body as well, polycarbonate, super tough. It seems like a really, really, really nice body. Super impressed. Okay, so you can see, first of all, we have aluminium shock towers with aluminium adjustment rings and aluminium caps. And on top of that is this plastic protecting cap. That is something that you do not get on a sledge. You get plastic ring, plastic cap, and $50 to upgrade it, and it's needed if you want to bash it, anything like heavy bashing. And then you can see we've got these super beefy arms. They look almost like short course truck arms. Super, super beefy, something similar to what you might see on a Mojave. And we've got 5mm CNC aluminium shock towers. Then these top arms, I'm super impressed by the chunkiness of these top arms. And you can see they've got like this streamlined kind of look to them. Whether that's going to help with aerodynamics, I've got no idea. Does it look like a nice design feature? Absolutely. And these things are absolutely beefy, completely beefcaked. We've got chunky plastic steering link arms, which is going to be really good in terms of their flexibility and ability to withstand heavy bashing. The hybrid chassis system, you can see how chunky this is, and we've got two individual arms linking into the center drivetrain, which is a super nice feature. And then also we have mudguards on the back, similar design with the shocks in the back. Double chassis brace here at the back as well, and you can see as well it has a metal pin connecting these two chassis braces together, which I think is another really nice feature. Here's the ESC, 185 amp ESC, comes with XT90s, which suits me perfectly because everything I've got is XT90. Instead of just taping down the power button, they've put it into its own little case, which again I think is a really nice feature. We've got 25 kilogram servo, which I found to be perfectly adequate. Excuse the sand in my car there, you can see I've been running it out in the desert. You've got this nice protective cover for the pinion and spur gear, and you also have an aluminium diff case in the center. I think the front and rear are plastic, don't quote me on that. We've got nice big nut heads on these on the motor mounting nuts, so you're not going to strip any threads there. They're going to be easy to get tight and easy to get off again. And the motor, I think I said 4074, it's a 4274 motor, 4-pole motor, high torque, and yeah, in my experience, this setup like this as an RTR absolutely rips. So one other thing I forgot to mention here, guys, is sway bars come as standard front and rear, and we've got this really nice anodized adjustment nut here, which I think is a really nice touch. Big chunky caster blocks here, I think they're 8mm, super solid. This thing is made to bash, and it's made to bash hard and fast. So guys, this is my Fireteam. Excuse the body, it's having a rustic kind of look. But just to give you an example of the sheer scale of the Kagama, front wheels are aligned, and in the back, maybe inch and a half longer in a Fireteam. Wheelbase wise, the Kagama is actually wider, slightly wider tires, but the inner track is probably pretty identical. So wheelbase wise, yeah, it's got the same kind of track as a Fireteam. Fireteam is a really good car on the ground. It's too heavy, that's why I've got a different body on mine, so it's better in the air. But yeah, that gives you an idea, like this is a really stable platform. I've basically done a speedrun video on this car and an accidental extreme durability test. So if you want to see that, do subscribe to the channel, smash the like button on the video. I've also taken this thing out to the dunes, and again, I've got another video for that, but this thing, basically, because it's a little bit heavier and a very stable platform, when you send it, and it's got such a powerful ESC, when you send this thing through the air, it flies, and it flies high, and it flies smooth, and it is a super, super cool bashing platform. So yeah, if you're on the fence about what car to buy, I hope this kind of helps you out, and to make a decision. Personally, if I had the choice between a Sledge, a Kraton, and this, there is kind of no contest. This feels like a Sledge when you drive it, but more powerful, with a more stable, and Sledge is stable, and similar kind of air control, if not a bit better with this, because it has a more powerful ESC. You get great expansion out of the tires, but they don't turn into those pizza cutters like a Sledge does. Now, there is an upgrade to the Sledge. It's coming with belted tires, but that's going to make it less adept in terms of stunts and tricks. So I guess it depends on what you want. The alternative is you change the tires out, which I do on most of my cars anyway. My preferred setup is a D-boot backflip, so usually I'll run that. And do monts in the back when I'm running in loose dirt or sand. Hope this video helps you to kind of make a decision. Do Do look out for future videos coming up, and thanks so much for tuning in.